Shall we start now? Okay. Dear participants, colleagues, and friends, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. Welcome to the third session of the Governance Capacity Development Session series, jointly organized by UN Project Office on Governance of Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government of the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the Global Research and Development Business Center of the Seoul National University. My name is Keping Yao. I'm the Senior Governance and Public Administration Expert of UN Project Office on Governance. We hope that this session series will generate more capacity demands from countries for training and capacity support. Today, we will address an important issue on how to accelerate digital transformation for SDG implementation and a sustainable and a resilient recovery from COVID-19. After this session, if you would like to seek more capacity support in this area, please contact us and we can further discuss how to better support your organization. Today, we have three presenters. I have my colleague, Ms. Mi-Kyung Park, Governance and Public Administration Officer from UN Project Office on Governance, and also Ms. Karen Key, Deputy Director for International Relations and Community Development of Gov Tech of Singapore. So now we start our session this afternoon. Yeah. Jenny, can you play the slide? Next, please. Digital transformation is a very complex issue, so I would like to give you a brief introduction to help you better understand the general context and the importance of this important topic. First, digital transformation is not simply about digital technologies and digitization. It's about technology, data, people, process, partnership, and systems. Digital transformation is more about the transformation. For example, digital government transformation transforms the relationships between the government and the people and the way to deliver public services to people. Second, the pace of digital transformation has accelerated since outbreak of COVID-19 due to the critical role of digital technologies in response to the crisis. Third, the digital technology is moving very fast. For example, the artificial intelligence, cloud computing, open data, and data analytics. So the growth of digitalization is accelerating. In this regard, government leaders should enhance the awareness of the important role of digital technologies in enhancing effective, anticipatory, and responsive governance. Fourth, the government is deploying cutting-edge technologies to deliver more citizen-centric public services, which are faster, better, intelligent, and more personalized. The future of government is expected to provide seamless services while breaking sectoral boundaries. But all this requires sustained investment in ICT infrastructure. Fifth, data is a critical resource for enabling more efficient, effective government and public services that respond to citizen needs. Data-driven decision-making has increasingly become mainstreaming. Governments are relying on real-time data, big data, geospatial data for decision-making and taking preemptive actions. The high dependence on data also calls for instituting a robust data governance framework, which range from data collection, storage, data access, sharing, analysis, and dissemination. So data governance should become the policy focus of digitization. It concerns about the data privacy and also the citizen trust in government. 6, digital resilience has also become a very important policy issue. It also affects the public trust in digital infrastructure. Government should highlight the importance of resilience in digital infrastructure. For example, during COVID-19, there's a surge in online requests, like an application for unemployment benefits. So how to accommodate the surge in demands is a very important issue. 7th, the accessibility and safe and affordable internet access, it's become a matter of a lifeline during COVID-19. Yet in today's world, only 53% of the planet had access. And also the gender digital gap is also a big concern. 3.5 billion people, they could not access digital services lifelines, yeah? And 1 billion children could not continue their education. 8th, the digital transformation, as I just mentioned, is kind of a system. It needs partnership. So it needs partnership for open innovation, either domestic or global. The government should work together with academia, IT businesses, and the private sector. The UN Project Office on Governance and the Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government of UN DESA has making consistent efforts in advancing global digital transformation. Just to give you several cases that the several events that we organized last year. We organized one capacity development webinar on accelerating digital transformation for sustainable and resilient recovery from COVID-19. We also organized one special session on digital government transformation and innovation for building back better during the 2020 regional symposium. And also our division also published the 2020 UN e-government survey, followed by a series of webinars to further discuss on this kind of important publication. Our division also published the Compendium of Digital Government Initiatives in response to the COVID-19 initiative. And also last month, the UN DESA also organized the high-level expert group meeting to discuss about the future of digital government. And also our office also developed one policy brief on strengthening data governance of effective use and open data and big data analytics for combating COVID-19. Just list you some events and some contributions of our office to the digital government transformation. Okay, without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to my colleague, Ms. Mi-Kyung Park. Mi-Kyung, you have the floor.
Thank you, Keping. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Once again, my name is Mi-Kyung Park from UNPOG DPIDG UN DESA. And before we begin the presentation, we would like to hear from your ideas and invite you to share your thoughts, ideas with other participants. So for that, I would like to invite participants to kindly, I hope you can see my screen, to use your laptop or your mobile phone to access www.menti.com and put the codes here 57190893 to share your ideas on this first question. What are the 2 words that come to your mind when you hear digital transformation, which is a theme that we're addressing today? So I would like to once again invite participants, colleagues, to join this, to access this Mentimeter, menti.com, and put here the access code once again, 57190893, so that you can start putting your ideas. Oh, I see the first word called capability. Okay, thank you for your inputs. Big data, AI, yes. Interoperability, yes. Internet, yes. Here, just for your information, in this word cloud, the bigger the size of the word that you see is the more number of entries that are made by the participants. So we can see what are, you know, the words that are put or similar words put by different participants. Yeah, I see. Thank you for your participation. Accessibility also is a big size. Technology, yes. Convergence, investment, blockchain, yes. ICT sector. I also see COVID-19, efficiency. Yes, it's very dynamically moving. I could see the more and more and increasing number of participants are sharing your thoughts. Maybe a few more seconds to receive more collective views before we start. Yes, I also see integration, innovation, lifestyle, remote working, new normal, yes, new jobs, transparency, inclusive, yes. So I think we could see that quite a number of participants have quite similar also words that are shared as shown in the bigger words, but at the same time, we also see a variety of ideas that are shared. Thank you very much. Maybe we can close this first question and I'll move on to the next question for your continued participation. Next one is, what do you think then are the leading factors for successful digital transformation? This one also, again, if you could share your ideas, I think it will be also a good starting point for our presentation today. So what do you think are the leading factors for successful digital transformation? Cooperation, internet government leadership, yes. Good governance, yes, yes. And innovation, leadership commitment, leadership, yeah, I see many leadership collaboration, cooperation, business model, good policy, R&D, investment and governance, upskilling of citizens, sustainable good governance, data capacity, network security, teamwork, inclusiveness, good thinking, funding, transparency. Here, you can take a quick look on what are the things that other participants think as the leading factors, and you could see which keywords will appear in our presentation today. Indeed, I see that quite many of the ideas that are being shared right now will be covered in our presentation today. Yes, so I think we can have a few more seconds. Yes, connectivity, data, accessibility, yes, trust. Thank you very much once again for your participation. Once again, let's see what are the key terms or the factors, strategies, and approaches that we'll cover in today's presentation. Thank you very much once again. And Jenny, could you share the presentation again, please? Yes, so this is the table of contents for today's presentation. We'll first see what is digital transformation and its process. And then the second part will examine how digital transformation can contribute to achieving the sustainable development goals. The third part will introduce approaches and strategies of accelerating digital transformation. Then we'll cover what are the capacities required for digital government transformation. And we'll conclude by examining some major policy issues. Next, please. And next, please. Yes. First, we can begin with some definitions and explanations on digital government. First, according to OECD OPSI, digital transformation refers to a process of adoption of digital tools and methods by an organization, typically those that have either not been including the digital factor as part of their core activities or have not kept up with the pace of change in digital technologies. And since we are, in this session, are specifically focusing on digital transformation in the public sector from public governance perspective, we'll be mainly discussing digital government transformation. And according to UN DESA's biannual publication, UN e-Government Survey 2020, which Keping also just mentioned in his introduction, digital government transformation is defined as a process of transforming governance models and interaction mechanisms between government and society, and innovating government policymaking, organizations, services, and programs by leveraging digital technologies. Next, please. And when we discuss digital government transformation, it is important to note that digital government transformation is not just about technologies, but it is above all about public governance transformation and innovation as part of country's overall national development vision and strategy. And also, it's important to understand that digital government transformation refers to a process of fundamental change requiring a holistic approach that puts people first and revolves around the needs of individuals, including those left furthest behind, and the mitigation of risks associated with the use of technologies. And the central feature of a holistic approach to digital government transformation is alignment of institutions, organizations, people, technology, data, and resources to support desired change within and outside the public sector for generation of public value. Next, please. Then why is promoting digital transformation important? It is because digital transformation can foster, among many, efficiency gains by its streamlining process, innovating government services, allowing faster, more personalized, accessible, and inclusive service, promotes better engagement and participation of citizens in decision-making processes, enhances openness and accountability of government and the society, enables agile and anticipatory governance for better preventing and responding to risks, which specifically also includes disasters such as the current COVID-19 pandemic. Next, please. And these are some of the specific policy dimensions of digital transformation according to OECD, which include enhancing access to communication infrastructure, services, and data, increasing effective use of digital technologies and data, unleashing data-driven and digital innovation, ensuring good jobs for all, promoting social prosperity and inclusion, strengthening trust in the digital age, and fostering market openness in digital business environments. Next, please. And this is the process of digital transformation, which follows an iterative cycle comprising 4 steps or building blocks. First one you can see is the context and situation analysis to assess digital transformation capacity gaps and opportunities. And the second step is future envisioning, excuse me, to articulate a shared vision of government transformation and how digital technologies will be leveraged to achieve societal goals. Third one is a strategy and a digital government implementation roadmap in which key pillars are identified. And lastly, is implementation and putting monitoring and evaluation mechanisms in place to collect feedback, which then should be used to inform the subsequent rounds of situation analysis, strategy, development, and implementation. Next, please. So in this part, we're going to take a closer look at each step of this holistic approach to digital government transformation, which is introduced in the Chapter 7 of e-Government Survey 2020. The link to the publication, as well as other reference materials and tools, are included in the session guidance note, which is now available on UMPO's website for your reference. So here in the middle, you can see in the middle that political commitment is positioned in the middle based on transformational leadership and engagement of people, which is an essential precondition for digital government transformation. And with this, the first stage is the context and situation analysis. And this is to assess digital transformation capacity gaps and opportunities across all government levels and society vis-a-vis the national development vision and plan. And a situation analysis requires an assessment of legal and governance frameworks. And it also needs an understanding of a country's history, social norms, values, beliefs, and attitudes, as well as national perceptions surrounding digital technologies. Importantly, the situation analysis should take into account a country's future development. And it's also important that this situation analysis is participatory by engaging a broad spectrum of stakeholders, including not only political and government leaders and officials at national and local authorities, but also individuals, experts, as well as civil society organizations. Next, please. And for this analysis, on the left is the STAR profiling model, which is a tool for assessing capacity gaps, opportunities, and challenges through multidimensional diagnostic analysis. You can see at the each of the 4 pillars in the STAR. And on the right is the digital maturity assessment tool as part of the digital transformation toolkit of the government of South Australia. Through this assessment tool, you can measure digital maturity in the 5 dimensions of governance and leadership, people and culture, capacity and capability, innovation, and technology. Although here only the governance and leadership part is included in the slide, you can click the link in the PPT to access the full toolkit for your further reference. Next, please. And the second building block is future envisioning. This is doing a visioning exercise that can help define where the country intends to go and how digital government transformation can contribute to sustainable national development. So here, what is important is that visioning of future development needs should not only be about ICTs and digital government, but it should be about the strategic and specific development of the country in general. Next, please. And this visioning exercise could include defining the below, which first includes governance principles, particularly in reference to the principles of effective governance for sustainable development, which was endorsed by UN ECOSOC, and which was also introduced during our session 1 in the first week. Here you can see on the right in this blue image that there are 11 principles, which are the competence, sound policymaking, and collaboration for effectiveness, and integrity, transparency, and independent oversight for accountability, and leaving no one behind, non-discrimination, participation, subsidiarity, and intergenerational equity for inclusiveness. And this visioning exercise could also include defining national goals, digital government values, digital government priorities for the short and long term, particularly aligned with a country's development strategy, as well as the sustainable development goals. Next, please. So next, once a country's needs, goals, and principles and priorities have been identified, the strategy and roadmap for digital government transformation can be built based on the key pillars. And here there are 2 important points to be emphasized. First is based on the future envisioning, as just mentioned in the previous step, the digital government transformation strategy should be integrated into a country's development strategy and aligned with the SDG as a comprehensive framework for social and economic progress and environmental protection. So an effective national digital government transformation strategy would identify the overall purpose of digital government for that country, how it relates to a country's SDG priorities, its key development objectives, and how it will benefit people. Second important thing is it's essential for countries to align the national digital strategy and implementation roadmap with local and other sub-national strategies and plans. It's important to involve local authorities in the designing process of the national digital strategy and to avoid the top-down approaches, which may often result in a lack of implementation at the local level or low uptake of digital services. Next, please. And a country's roadmap for digital government transformation should be built up on key pillars that can help promote, again, effective, accountable, and inclusive digital government. As iterated in the boxes here, there are 9 key pillars that should serve as focal points for digital government transformation. If I introduce one by one, the first pillar is vision, leadership, mindsets. Which is on strengthening transformational leadership, building digital capacities, and changing mindsets at the individual and institutional levels. We've seen, again, when we share the ideas before we begin the presentation, many participants indeed have emphasized the importance of leadership. And the second pillar is legal and institutional framework, which is establishing a comprehensive legal and regulatory framework for the development of an integrated institutional system. The third is transforming organizational setup and culture. The fourth pillar is promoting systems thinking and development of integrated approaches to policymaking and service delivery. The fifth pillar is data governance for ensuring strategic and professional management of data to address data access and enable data-driven policymaking. The sixth pillar is ICT infrastructure, affordability, and access, which was also highly mentioned by the participants when we shared the ideas. This pillar is about providing access to high-speed broadband internet and safe and secure access to new technologies for all. And the seventh pillar is resources, which is mobilizing resources, aligning priorities, plans, and budgeting, including through public-private partnerships. The eighth pillar is capacity developers, which is enhancing the capacities of schools of public administration and other capacity building entities and mechanisms. The ninth pillar is societal capacities, which is on developing capacities at the societal level to breach the digital divide and ensure that no one is left behind. And based on these 9 major pillars, a roadmap must include short-term, mid-term, and long-term projects that are aligned with the digital government transformation vision. Yes. And lastly is the implementation and monitoring and evaluation step. So to ensure effective implementation of the roadmap, government needs to elaborate a comprehensive set of priorities and an action plan for capacity development at all levels of government, including investment in research and development. And action planning can outline specific measures for developing capacities for digital government based on a comparative analysis of the current situation, the country's vision for the future. And the continuous monitoring and evaluation of digital services is essential. And here the performance indicators comprise both quantitative and qualitative measures such as user uptake, user satisfaction, and the share of automated customer service generated by a digital government system. Next, please. So this is the first part, which introduces what digital transformation is and the process. And this next second part is about how then digital transformation can support better achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Yes, and for those who didn't attend the session 1 on the week 1, which covered the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and SDGs, I'd like to give a very brief explanation. So in 2015, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development was adopted by all UN member states to achieve 17 goals and 169 targets by year 2030. And the goals and targets cover 3 dimensions of sustainable development: economic, social, and environmental, and are about 5 Ps: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and planet. And on the right are the principles of the 2030 Agenda, which are transformative, integrative, universal, and leaving no one behind, which is for ensuring inclusion of all, including the furthest left behind and the vulnerable groups. Next, please. So Digital transformation is the key enabler for achieving the SDGs by particularly fostering growth, inclusiveness, sustainability, and innovation and partnership. Next, please. And here are some of the examples on how ICT and digital technologies can contribute to achieving the 17 goals. I don't think we'll have time to go over one by one, but to take a few of some of the examples, let's see, goal 1. It says digital technology can contribute to eradicating poverty by promoting financial inclusion, as for example, mobile phones can provide access to financial services for the world's 2 billion unbanked people. And we can see for goal 11, that frontier technologies such as 5G and IoT play an important role for building smart, sustainable cities. For goal 11, which is on making cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, and resilient and sustainable, as well as also covered during last week's session. And one more for goal 16, we can see that open data can increase transparency and empower citizens. Next, please. And frontier technologies, specifically such as artificial intelligence, also play a significant role for achieving the SDGs. AI, just to share some of the examples, can foster a future of smart mobility, inclusive and responsive healthcare solutions, and preservation of cultural and natural heritage, and trust solutions for a digital society. Next, please. And this slide is about how big data analytics can contribute to achieving the SDGs. Again, if we just select several examples, we can see goal 5 on gender equality. We can see that the analysis of financial transaction through big data analysis can reveal the spending patterns and different impacts of economic shocks on men and women. And for goal 6, so we can see the sensors connected to water pumps can track access to clean water. And for goal 16, sentiment analysis of social media can give an understanding on the public opinion on effective governance, public service delivery, and human rights. Yes. And for other details, I hope you can take a detailed look on the interesting examples. Yes, next, please. And we're also currently witnessing the significant role of digital technology as a tool for COVID-19 pandemic response. You can see here in the diagram that it contributes to contact tracing, quarantine and self-isolation, screening for infection, clinical management, planning and tracking policies and measures, efficient management of medical supplies, and so forth. So in this regard, digital transformation can greatly contribute to better pandemic preparedness and response, which is very critical for achieving sustainable development. Next, please. Also, digital transformation can greatly enhance inclusion of vulnerable groups and contributing to leaving no one behind, again, which is the overarching principle of the 2030 agenda. Digital technologies, for example, can allow better identifying the vulnerable groups who are often uncounted to ensure that they are included to receive government services. And digital transformation, especially with frontier technologies, can ensure accessibility of public service by those who have special vulnerabilities by addressing their special demands. And lastly, digital technologies, including mobile phones and also social media, can facilitate inclusive information sharing for vulnerable groups, especially during disaster situations, and promote their engagement and participation in policymaking processes. Next, please. And we can see that an increasing number of countries are providing online services for vulnerable groups, such as youth, older persons, persons with disabilities, and migrants. And for your information, we'll have another session as a part of this governance capacity development session series, session 7, which will cover more specifically on the theme of innovating public governance and leveraging digital technologies for inclusion of vulnerable groups. Yes. Next, please. So before I wrap up this second part of the presentation. For your information, if you want to find more cases from different countries on how digital technologies are leveraged for SDG implementation, you can visit this SDG mapping tool with the link provided here. It's by ITU, and where you can find the relevant cases for each SDG goal. Okay, now for the section 3, I'd like to give the floor to Kevin.
Thank you, Mikyo. Next, please. The digital transformation is an ongoing and dynamic process, so it should be steered by a long-term strategy. The reason that this digital transformation is kind of dynamic and ongoing process, one reason is that the new technologies that keep coming up, like the digital technologies, they really fundamentally change how the people and the business, they work together. And also, of course, there's a great potential of technology for improving the public services and also how to better engage people. And another most important reason is that the demands of citizens for better service and also a better life never stops. So it's kind of would be a long-term process. It have to be steered by long-term strategy. Normally, the strategy provides a blueprint how the digital transformation goes. It may include the vision, objectives, the scope of business or service transformation, what type of tools and technology and platform will be used, and how to make better use of data, and what type of new skills and capacities of people should be required, and what's kind of new mindset, and also new culture and partnership should build up. Yeah, next please. Also, the strategy should not be static. It should be revisited and updated to accommodate new situations. For example, the COVID-19 and the new normal. Yeah, actually, many governments, in recognition of the value of the smart system for contact tracing and quarantine, by leveraging data analytics and artificial intelligence technology, they are reviewing national digital strategies or propose new digital roadmaps or initiatives for revitalizing economy and improving national competitiveness. Some governments have a pledge to expand investment in digital infrastructure by developing AI, big data, cloud computing, and 5G. Next, please. The digital leadership across government, it's also very critical. They can set up a master plan at every government level, which could require all government entities to accelerate digital transformation. And especially the current ongoing crisis highlights the need to accelerate and overhaul of any slow or outdated legacy systems that stand in the way of progress. But also, I mean, all these kind of legacy systems, they may cause huge barriers in terms of responding quickly in a crisis. Next, please. Just give you a list of countries of their current responses, and then they also their their digital governance strategy, and also some responses to the COVID-19. For example, the Republic of Korea, the digital initiatives in response to COVID-19, including the clear communication and continuity of government services. Actually, from very beginning, the Korean government used multiple digital channels, including the emergency text broadcasting system to keep the public informed with accurate information to avoid this kind of misinformation. Secondly, the government open data and application programming interfaces, which enable the private sector created more than 150 applications and web services. Also, the Ministry of the Interior and Safety of the government also developed applications to monitor and managing quarantine measures. These apps are only open to by assigned government officials to protect the sensitive personal information. And the legal grounds for these actions were immediately created by the government and the parliament right away. Next, please. Also, in the post-COVID-19 era, the government will also have new digital governance strategies. Actually, in June 2020, the government announced a revised version of its digital government innovation strategy to prepare for the COVID-19 strategy society. This strategy outlines the directions and specific initiatives in such areas like data, digital infrastructure, and public-private collaboration. And also, they also announced the so-called Digital New Deal as one of the wins to revitalize the society and economy. It is introduced for great transformation and aiming to build a more robust digital economy and promote growth in industries by integrating and utilizing data, networks, and artificial intelligence. It will also apply emerging technologies to improve the social and capital infrastructure. Next, please. And also, I also want to give you one case about Cambodia. This one is a kind of a draft digital government framework of Cambodia. It includes like goals, the goal is pursuing the digital economy and a smart government. It also has the 4 objectives and also has the strategic thrusts, including ICT digital services, how to create the enable platforms, and also how to establish data-driven governance, and also how to establish security and a regulatory framework. Next, please. And also, the digital government strategy also including 3 components. It includes the digital key enablers, especially the set up the government data center, the digital ID, eKYC, and also PKI. And also the public service digitalization, it also highlights importance of the system standards and interoperability. It also highlights the importance of data-driven governance and how to develop open data and data-driven governance systems. Yeah. Next, please. Now I want to give you one example about the Estonia, their digital governance strategy. Actually, there are 5 factors in their digital government, in their Estonia strategy. One is about the purpose. Actually, from very beginning, they're very clear. The purpose of e-government or digital government is to improve the government efficiency and deliver better service to all. And secondly, is to identify the policy push, meaning how to identify the right policy instrument to push the government to move quickly. The one policy push they cited is about the legislation on the digital signature. Third one is very obvious, how they work together with other stakeholders for open innovation. Because Estonia is a very small country, it's not option to be closed and doing everything by itself. So they have been working very heavily with companies and IT industry. And also the experiment, the trust is also important. They have the legal framework in place for privacy and also incorporated technology in managing and accessing data to foster trust. And also the experimentation is also important. The leadership give them some space to experiment with new ideas. Next, please. And also I want to give you another case of Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, in their digital government transformation strategy, there are 5 principles. The first one is about like give once and get always. Citizens only need to give their personal data once and they could receive their services they deserve. Second one is about intelligence service. They can get a service without asking. They receive the service in life cycles. As an interoperable system, we know that it's time for the service to be delivered. High quality, low cost, needless to say, anytime, anywhere. The 5th principle is a repurpose whenever possible. So especially during COVID-19 period, all different building blocks have to be reconfigured, repurposed, as they need to launch new application and new solutions. Next, please. And also during COVID-19, Bangladesh have a series of actions to keep the continuity and also accelerate the digital transformation. So one is from supply side, the one exemplary case about e-filing, so that people could work from home. And also another case is my court. Originally, they will finish this kind of digital court system next year, this year, but it already finished last year within even 2012 days. Yeah, and also the rapid digitalization for the demand side. Yeah, because during the COVID-19, to reduce time, cost, and visit for demand side, it becomes so critical for citizens. Yeah. And also, they also have this kind of app for MyGov. So they're digitizing hundreds of analog services in 23 days. Yeah. Next, please. Also, yeah, previous one. Next. Yeah, okay, good. Also, the Bangladesh, they also are confronted with unprecedented demands for delivering social safety services. Yeah. So the government quickly complete the social safety net digitalization, use the choice architecture. And also they also use the old reliable the telephone line to for those kind of digitally excluded to get the service. Next, please. Yes, and also they leverage those kind of underutilized Parliament TV to supplement internet with a target to reach 50 million learners. Yeah, this also for capacity development for those kind of people. They also matching the demand supply gap through the national intelligence for skills, employment, and entrepreneurship. Yeah, next, please. So this is a case about Denmark. I really short of time. Yeah. So Denmark is one of the digital forerunners in the world, and the digitalization has been a priority in early stage. And also strategic collaboration across the entire public sector has been a key since 2011. And also the government, they also build up the common digital solutions that are widely used by all the government agencies, but also shared between the public and private sector. Next, please. Also, during the COVID-19, previous one. Yeah, good. And also there's in Denmark, there's some key solutions. Yeah, one is like one-stop shop service called Walk.dk, and also they have a digital ID system. They have a digital post. Actually, the one-stop shop for deliverance for the public, actually the public can find 90% of the service there, and also they are very happy with the public services. Next, please. Also, during COVID-19, the government quickly switched to digital transition, and also they develop many kind of contact tracing apps in record time. And of course, I mean, the trust issue is also become a very kind of important for the government. So in this regard, they also invite some independent experts to when designing the new digital initiatives. Next, please. Yeah, this one is the digital transformation strategy for UK. Actually, since the 2011, the government digital service, we call it GDS, has been creating digital tools, product and policies, and developing digital capability, infrastructure, and talent. All these kind of efforts contribute to the success during the COVID-19 preparation and responses. They have like simplified one single domain called gov.uk. And also they said that the government should be shaped by the service it provides. and those services should be shaped around the citizen needs. And also another important component is about this called data portability. They're building up the components so that government can easily work together. Next, please. During COVID-19, the UK GDS also make a swift digital responses. They build new services to solve new problems, and also they increase the use of those kind of building blocks. And also they put the gov.uk at the central role. Next, please. And also this is the case of Rwanda. Rwanda, you can see that they already experienced more than 20 years almost, yeah. So from very beginning, they have set up this kind of enabling environment like legislation. Second stage is about the building the infrastructure. The third stage, they prioritize some digital services. The fourth stage, they build up this kind of Rwanda master plan. Next, please. And also during the COVID-19, they also strengthened the digital infrastructure and scale up the e-learning, e-commerce, and telemedicine and digital payment services. They strengthen the data access systems and also leverage technology tools to inform response strategies. And also they increase the high tech skills and, for the citizens and the government officials. Next, please. And also they are also making efforts to accelerate digital transformation with this kind of principle like user centricity, once only, inclusiveness, data privacy, and ICT as an investment. Next, please. Also, in this chart is about the digital transformation strategy in the Latin American countries. You can see this going to select countries. They have a strategy for the digital overall digital strategy, or data strategy, or AI strategy, and also about this the situation about infrastructure and connectivity. Next, please. Second important approach is about digital inclusion. Digital inclusion should set as a priority throughout the digital transformation. Actually, there are growing concerns that the digital gap might further worsen economic and social inequality and discrimination. So it has increased the need to highlight the importance of digital inclusion as a focus of a policy. So the digital first, our digital by default policy and COVID-19 has amplified the challenge of the internet access and digital inclusion for vulnerable groups. And a digital inclusion policy should be set to ensure that all citizens enjoy the benefits from digital technologies and allow them to take part in digital economy, society, and engage in the digital world without being discriminated or excluded. And also it is essential to have a comprehensive internet coverage and help all citizens build comprehensive digital capacities. And also recently there's some discussion saying that the internet access should become a public good. Next, please. Also, again, this is about the digital inclusion plan of the Republic of Korea. It was developed by multiple ministries together. It is aimed to improve the information access for digitally vulnerable people and to revamping digital environments so that all citizens can enjoy the benefits in the digital transformation era. Yeah. So you can see that this kind of plan have 4 different tasks. One is going to enhance the capacity and make an enabling environment and the utilization, and also how to solid the foundation, how to build a framework for the public-private cooperation and promote citizen-led community problem solving. Next, please. This is a case in France. This one is, how to say, one NGO called Metnam. They, with the support from the Secretary of Digital Affairs, they launched a platform to help those people who have difficulties with accessing digital tools during the crisis. Next, please. Yeah, this case is in Saudi Arabia. As the Ministry of Communication, Information Technology, they launched the Giving All initiatives, highlighting the important technology and advocates that everyone should have a right to it. They basically support the students and low-income families receive the devices necessary to complete the distance education. Next, please. Yeah, this one, the digital to solve the issue of digital inclusion, the one important prerequisite is to address the digital connectivity issue. Yeah. So from this kind of right chart, you can see that those kind of low income countries, they have like low access of connectivity. So to solve this kind of digital connectivity issue, that the government should step up the investment in the ICT infrastructure. Next, please. And also this some actions took by UN, especially the UN Economic Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific. They advocate and build the Asia Pacific Information Superhighway, and also establish a shared carrier neutral Pacific sub-regional internet exchange point. Yeah, there's some there, and also they also have this ASEAN CLMV. Yeah, and also for the Central Asia countries, they are also advocating the co-deployment of fiber optic infrastructure with roads, railways, and energy grids in the 3 Central Asia countries. Next, please. The third issue is about data interoperability. Yeah, data interoperability is very important because if application and solution do not talk to each other, they will not answer users' needs and demands. Also, the standards for interoperability of government products and practices could help promote the collaboration among governments to share the certain products like digital identity. The interoperability standard also would enable developers to put together new solutions very quickly as they're interoperable and easily work together and function well. Next, please. Also, the lack of interoperability at many levels may represent a disconnect between institutions. Next, please. Also, this is a case about the data interoperability in Singapore. My colleague Karen will further address this issue. They have a specific web portal platform for developers. Next, please. Also, the EU response to COVID-19. One important approach is also standardized to have the standards for digital services and data interoperability. Next, please. The fourth important issue of digital government strategy and approach is about data privacy and citizen trust. The citizen trust on digital product and services, as well as a digital infrastructure, is an important enabler for digital transformation. It can quickly make the government respond to the COVID-19 across the public and private sector. In the absence of high standards of security and privacy, citizens will not support the government measures. Yeah. So to protect the personal data information, there should be a legal framework and data ethics put in place to ensure privacy. Next, please. Also, to ensure the data privacy and the citizen trust, the government should also work together with the independent experts and also have enough consultation with the citizens. Yeah. Also, security in cyberspace requires sustained global engagement and collaboration. It requires creating an ecosystem of like-minded partners to willing to collectively support a rule-based international order in cyberspace that holds malign partners accountable. Next, please. The fifth important issue is about partnership. The digital transformation requires close partnership with academia, IT businesses, and the private sector. Many governments have worked in close collaboration with the whole society for open source solutions and web services by opening data and application program interface. And also another case, for example, the Tencent company, they work together with the government to have the digital Guangdong for the local governments. Many governments also commit to create a collaborative digital ecosystem to promote public-private partnership to strengthen and restore economy. And also many investments should be also made by the private sector in this kind of collaboration between the government and the private sector. Next, please. And also the partnership that should be a kind of ecosystem, including the different stakeholders like the public sector, private sector, entrepreneurs, academia, yeah, and also the entrepreneurial support networks and finance. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, there's several cases about a partnership. One is about this kind of a digital team Australia, which is a cooperation initiative of companies from digitalization sector. They're offering the digital service to the small and medium enterprises free of charge. They work together with the government. Next, please. Yeah, this is also a case in Mauritius. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, they partnered with Huawei in Mauritius to bring in video conference solutions to facilitate communication or meetings between all hospitals and the ministry. Next, please. This is also a case of Singapore about open source in during COVID-19 crisis. Next, please. Also, the sixth about international cooperation. Actually, I also already mentioned one case about the international cooperation in security in the cyber space. Yeah. So the global digital cooperation is very urgent than ever, as the digital technology and innovation stand at the center of effective innovative responses to address the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, you know that the pandemic has a kind of transboundary impact. It also requires concerted actions from all countries. Next, please. And also there are several country cases that promoting South-South cooperation. One case is about Bangladesh. They're nurturing, they have a platform they call SSA for public service institutions. Yeah. Next, please. Next. Yeah, this is also about a case in Singapore. I will skip it. Next, please. Yeah, also during the international cooperation, the big tech companies, they can also play a kind of important role. Yeah. Okay, now I give the floor to Mikhail.
Yes, thank you, Keping. So this fourth part, as has been emphasized throughout the earlier part of the presentation, is on capacities for digital government transformation. Next slide, please. Yes, for effective design and implementation of a holistic approach to digital transformation, broad capacity development is needed at the institutional, organizational, individual levels in government, as well as the societal level. It also requires transformational leadership and changing mindsets at the national and local levels and across all sectors in the society. Next, please. So first, to begin with the capacities at the institutional level, governments need to put in place an institutional ecosystem for the adoption and application of digital technologies. And this ecosystem must incorporate laws, regulations, policies, guidelines, and standards that address issues such as access to information, data privacy protection, digital security, and AI legislation. And policymakers across all sectors, sectoral areas must have the capacities to assess the impact of using frontier technologies and digital technologies in government, and should possess a thorough understanding of the potential positive and negative impacts of existing policies on the use of new and emerging technologies, and a comprehensive understanding on the technologies themselves to formulate the relevant new laws and policies. And here also, partnership among public and private sector actors, including the universities and think tanks, is important, as it can help build the necessary understanding of the impacts of new technologies. Next, please. For example, Estonia, for providing reliable and up-to-date information on individuals and government and safe access to e-services, the government has formulated and activated comprehensive legislation, including the Public Information Act, Personal Data Protection Act, Cybersecurity Act, Identity Documents Act, among others. Next, please. And the second is the capacities at the organizational level, which are related to government structures that define authority, roles and responsibilities, accountability and reporting lines, as well as the mechanisms and processes for coordination and communication. So here, a whole of government approach for the integration of our organizational processes and public service delivery is important, particularly by, for example, reorganizing institutions and organizations to establish appropriate horizontal and vertical workflows before starting an automated process. And central coordination mechanisms, such as central coordinating agency with budgetary autonomy to manage the national digital strategy and the national website team, and to define and coordinate the functions of the chief information officer, are also important. Here, it's also essential to set an organizational culture to foster collaboration and innovation that values synergy, teamwork, and partnership, and which emphasize value delivery. Next, please. And for example, the National Information Resources Service of the Republic of Korea, which is the world's first pan-governmental data center, integrates and manages the data and information of central government institutions. So its main functions include first integrating, operating, and managing many different government digital government services linked to 45 central government institutions, and controlling around 45,000 government information resources, including the servers and storage, and consolidating and retrieving information through the government exclusive G Cloud to facilitate interdepartmental information sharing and resource utilization. And they also operate Haean, the pan-governmental big data portal for all government officials to support science and data-driven government policymaking. And the fourth one is protecting national security, national information resources against cyber threats through an integrated security management system using AI technologies. Next, please. And third is the capacities at the individual level. So it is important to develop the knowledge, skills, and competencies of individual government officials for promoting digital transformation. And some of the major skills that are essential include digital capacities in data collection, storage, analysis, and management, capacities to effectively use disaggregate data from various sources, ability to solve problems using systems thinking, forecasting capacities to anticipate problems, as well as flexibility to quickly adapt to and address unanticipated circumstances, among others. And on the right is the specific strategies and approaches for developing individual capacities for digital government transformation. Next, please. Particularly, it's very important, in addition to the developing skills, strengthening the leadership as well as mindsets is very important, as has been emphasized earlier. So we can see here on the left the graphs that important characteristics of CIOs today are thought to be, they need to be strategist, communicator, negotiator, motivator, technologist, and so forth. And equipping with the evidence-based mindsets and digital mindset, collaborative mindsets, all these relevant mindsets are particularly important. Next, please. And for example, in Kazakhstan, Digital Kazakhstan coordinates the training programs that strengthens the capacities of chief digital officers and IT specialists at all levels of the government. And here, these programs train also capacity developers and to provide them with the digital skills for ever increasing ICT applications. Here at the core of their program is cross-sectoral as well as public-private partnerships that allow relevant experts and stakeholders from other sectors to collaborate and co-innovate. Next, please. And DESA, as was also shared during session 1, provides supports to member states with the capacity development of public servants and the capacity developers. The curriculum on governance for the SDGs includes a number of toolkits that can also foster those capacities and skills for digital transformation, along with other capacities for SDG implementation. And some of the toolkits are available at the UMPAN website. Here you can access through the link provided here, while some others will also become available in due time. And if you are from a government organization and are interested in receiving UNDESA's capacity development support, including organizing the trainings based on these toolkits, please contact us, write to us to further discuss possible collaboration. Yes, next please. The last capacity is the capacity at the societal level, which is mainly on ensuring leaving no one behind and enhancing digital literacy development for all, including vulnerable groups. So this would include bridging the digital divide, as Kevin also emphasized in earlier part, by making internet access more affordable, providing multiple channels to access services, and delivering user-friendly online content, and also raising awareness of the people to inform them of the benefits of digital services and to ensure more widespread use of online platforms. Next, please. And for example, in Beijing, China, persons with disabilities can apply for assistive devices directly from the government website, and assistive device services are provided to all certified persons with disabilities who have Beijing household registration without need to submit a certification of the disability. And they can also receive relevant subsidies for purchased auxiliaries on a service platform. And to make the process simple for persons with disabilities, after the platform automatically identifies the candidates and the corresponding subsidy through data sharing, the administrative departments complete the examination and approval process online. Next, please. And Seoul City of the Republic of Korea has introduced humanoid robots to deliver contactless digital education programs to senior citizens with a robot which is equipped with voice recognition and response functions. Senior citizens can learn using smartphones, online messaging, and other digital services. And this scheme was launched to get more older persons using digital devices and prevent them being from left out, as COVID-19 has accelerated the use of contactless services. And the last example is Unesco's Youth Mobile Initiative, which is for educating young people, youth, to create their own mobile apps. So young people, through the apps that they have created, can share data on education information, peace and market information, and so forth. Yes, so they can actively participate in creating digital services. And this is the end of part 4, and Keping will continue with the last part of the presentation. Back to you, Keping.
Okay, thank you, Mikkyung. So next, please. So I will highlight a list of so-called major policy issues, but many issues already mentioned in our presentations. The first one is about data for digital transformation. Countries are building a so-called data-driven public sector. So the data can help the government to strengthen the so-called anticipatory governance. They can also better design the policies, and also better engage with citizens as core value creators. And also they can also have a better performance. Yeah? So the data is play a more important role for the public sector to transform their performance. Yeah? Second one is about the data governance. Also, I see there's one question from audience about the data security issue. Yeah, it needs kind of a data governance framework. In 2 weeks' time, in on April 30th, we will have another session on the data governance. So we really welcome you back to that session. And also another issue about protection and privacy. It is about the citizen trust in the product and services, and also in the digital infrastructure. As I said, that without the trust of the citizens, all the digital transformation, all the measures will not achieve much success. And another issue is about digital divide, digital connectivity. How we can ensure the equal access to all, and also improve the data literacy for the vulnerable groups. And also another issue is about how to build up a kind of enabling data ecosystem, so that businesses, private governments, and citizens can also have a good enabling system. They share the data together. And also lastly, how to the strengthening the security and resilience of ICT infrastructure is very important, especially during the crisis. The stability of the IT infrastructure is kind of critical for the emergency responses and management. Yeah. So due to time limits, really have no time to further elaborate on these issues. So now I would like to conclude this presentation. Now let me have the pleasure to invite Ms. Karen Key to present on Singapore case. Karen is the Deputy Director for the International Relations and Community Development of Gov Tech of Singapore. She leads the International Relations team at Gov Tech and represents Singapore globally at many overseas forums. Throughout her career, she has managed several government-wide projects. Prior to this role, Karen has spent many years in Accenture as a developer for government-wide systems and billing systems for Singapore's large telecom. So now, Karen, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. I think my computer kind of hang. Would you be bringing the slides up on screen?
Jenny, do you have the slides?
Is uploaded and shared.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
I can't quite see the screen. My computer's kind of hang, so I'll just go with the slides. So slide 2 is showing on bringing Singapore Smart Nation front and center. Okay, maybe I'll just start the presentation then. Okay, firstly, thank you, Kaping, as well as the UN team for inviting us to share at this conference. Maybe I dive into slide 2 just to give an overview of GovTech, the agency that I am from. So the Government Technology Agency has the mandate to develop technology for government. We are part of the Smart Nation and Digital Government Group. We work very closely with the Smart Nation and Digital Government Office and report directly through a ministerial committee. So we report to 5 different ministers and directly to the Prime Minister's office. So this gives us a bit more levers to push some of the whole of government work that we are doing. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an overview of the work that GovTech does. We're close to 3,000 strong. The first work that we do is we look after governance within the public sector. So we set the ICT policies, the whole of government guidelines that agencies will need to comply when they do some of the digital work. Cybersecurity is also under the Government Technology Agency. What we do here is we do have a central cybersecurity agency within Singapore that takes care of the horizontal, the whole of country cybersecurity, and there are a few different sectors, of which one of the sectors is the government sector, and GovTech leads the cybersecurity within the government sector. So the government CISO sits within GovTech as well. The middle part, which is services, takes up the biggest group of Gov Tech. So we have more than half of the staff are deployed to agencies. So of the 100 over agencies that Singapore has, we have over 60 agencies that has Gov Tech staff within. And what this means is our function is a little bit different. We deploy staff out to agencies, and they report back to Gov Tech. So they are still Gov Tech staff. They are not seconded out. They report back, they attend regularly, and we manage their performance, their career, etc. That allows us the ability to have a balance, because within the government, there are big agencies, there are small agencies. So we are able to rotate the staff, plan their development, career development, etc. And they all report back to the government CIO, which resides within Gov Tech. And on the right side is the products team, where we develop products in-house. We do that through a group of about 800 engineers that are specialized in some of these capability centers. So there are those listed here: the digital service, the app development, data science, etc. So these are engineers sitting within Gov Tech that are able to build some of these systems for us. So especially during the COVID time, we realized that this has really helped us quite a lot. Next slide, please. Okay, so technology has played a big role, significant role in the work that we do. Some of the guiding principles that we have is that all the solutions that we have developed during COVID must contribute to the public health requirements. So it's not just technology driven, but it also contributes to public health. And technology must uphold the trust, because that's important, that whatever data that we collect and do supports the public in whatever work that we do. So there was mention about trust and accountability for how the government is using data. We hold that quite close to our heart. So whatever we do, there are public sector, we have a public sector governance act that dictates how the government uses the data, etc. And we also have the personal data.
We lost Karen. Sorry for the technical glitch. Let's wait for Karen to get it back. While we are waiting for Karen, I see there are several questions in the chat box. So yeah, we'll try to answer some through the. Sorry, please be a bit patient with us. Sorry for the technical problem. So while we are waiting for Karen to log on back, maybe we can pick up 2 questions to answer. So Karen, you back?
Yes, I am, but the video is not working. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
So it dropped off here, is it?
Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Go
Okay.
ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Kaping. So yeah, so the technology that we deployed during the COVID period, these were some of the guiding principles that we relied on to make sure that it must be based on public health principles. Whatever we did, it's not so much technology driven, but more what public health required. Also, the data that we collected, we had to ensure that a lot of the Data Governance Act and the infrastructure was in place to govern the way we use data, so as to ensure the public that the government is accountable. And technology isn't the only option which we ensured to make sure that many of the people without phones or underserved groups had access to any of the solutions we were rolling out. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So in preventing the spread, there were quite a number of, this whole chart shows the solutions that we rolled out during the COVID period. And the bottom part explains the capabilities and policies that we had in place. So in preventing the spread, there were quite a number of initiatives that we rolled out. The Trace Together, the contact tracing system, safe entry, as well as health certs that I'll cover later. Crowd management and distribution, quite a number of efforts were rolled out to ensure that there was sufficient safe distancing during the COVID period. And I would like to also highlight supporting the community, some of the efforts that were pushed out. So quite a number of people were displaced from their jobs. So we created a central portal where everyone could go and look for jobs that were probably a bit more short-term, as well as long-term jobs. People could go there to apply. Businesses that were in need of money were able to look for grants through the business grants portal, as well as the senior support care under GAIL. What we noticed during the COVID period was that quite a number of volunteers had been visiting a lot of the senior homes to provide them with care, with support, etc. During the lockdown period in Singapore, there were a number of, all the volunteers were home. So we wanted to ensure that seniors had a way to call out for care. So Gov Tech developed and installed a panic button. We call it a button within the senior's home. So when they press it, it alerts the entire ecosystem of help that is able to arrive at the senior's house. And the last one is the Supply Ally laptops, which we were giving out laptops to students from needy homes because we were moving to home-based schoolings, and quite a number of students didn't have devices. So this was an effort that we had to distribute laptops. And during this time, we leveraged on quite a number of capabilities that had been developed pre-COVID. So some of the capability centers that were developed, we ensured that there was interagency communication. We set up platforms where we moved quite a number of systems leveraging on the commercial cloud, as well as government data architecture. So a framework that we had that was in place pre-COVID, and we applied it during the COVID period. Next slide, please. Okay, so in preventing the spread, I won't cover this much in detail. So this is the contact tracing app that we had, and we rolled out a token to ensure that digitally excluded, as well as the seniors had access to contact tracing as well. Next slide. So in Singapore, when we enter to venues, there's an option to scan a QR code to indicate that you have been to this place. So a person can use a phone to just scan the QR or use the Trace Together token that was shown in the slide before to have access. So this ensures that everyone is able to be contacted if they have come into close contact with a positive case. Next slide, please. So as we prepare for opening up our borders, we have published an open standard. This is a digital standard for digital health certificates, which we call health certs. We are compliant with international standards called FHIR, which WHO is also aligning to. And we have the details within this slide that you can access. So the health certificate contains the usual information on your data identity, your test identity, and Sometime this week, we will be rolling out the vaccine certs information. Next slide, please. So this is how we look at it. We have the entire ecosystem that is open source, available to any of the governments that want to use. So the first one is medical institutions, which is health certificates. How are you going to generate the health certificate after having a test or a vaccine? So these standards and schemas are available there. And notarized is a little bit more internal within the government, where you take the certificate, you receive a QR, and you submit it to notarize.gov. And that's where, like, as the health agency will put it as a stamp of approval that, okay, this is authentic, this is real, and we can use that. And verify would be more for inflow, outflow when people travel. So how do you recognize the certificate to make sure that it's authentic, it's real, it hasn't been tampered with, and it's not been expired? So through verify.gov, we have the code there that countries can use. Next slide, please. So I wanted to mention that Health Certs is based on the Open Attestation Framework, which is a blockchain framework that we published about 3 years ago. It's based on the Ethereum network. So in there, we started using it for health education certificates, as well as trade certificates. And when COVID hit, we thought, why not use it for Health Certs? So you can find out more through the Open Attestation website. Next slide, please. So in here, if countries would like to outsource or develop these health certificates of verification for immigration through providers, we have 10 that are located here. What they do is they have taken our open source code, developed a draft health certificate, and submitted it to us. So we have accredited that they are health cert providers. So they're over in 30 locations. You can check them out in the healthcerts.gov.sg website. And they support over 400 medical institutions. Next slide, please. So Verify, I've shared already, is open source. So we use it to authenticate and ensure that the cert is authentic, not tampered with, and not been revoked because it's invalid. And there are some of the private sector use cases like IATA and Affinity that are able to verify some of the health certs that we have developed as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so maybe I can invite the participants to scan this sample QR. So when you scan it, what will come on screen firstly is to tell you that the cert is authentic, it's been verified, it's not been tampered with, and then it will load a health certificate on that you can see up on your screen. And then what they can do is to show it to the immigration officials. We also thought it'd be useful to mention that it can be read by a generic QR code reader, so it's not a proprietary thing. And the blockchain that we are using, Ethereum, is also permissionless and open blockchain as well. Next slide, please. Okay, there's more integration and interoperability. If you are interested to find out more, these are the open standards, especially for governments. You can feel free to use it or get your teams to develop on it. And if there are some of the fields within the health certificates that do not meet your needs, that you do not want it to be mandatory, to be optional instead, you can feel free to contact my team, and then we will be able to send a pull request to GitHub to make the changes for you as well. And the list of providers is listed on this website here. Next slide, please. So like Kapil mentioned previously, we are working very closely with the community. A lot of the work that we do, even for health certs, we work very closely with the private sector to develop it, to improve it. So we have published a lot of the products that is developed by government, as well as Gov Tech, onto the developer portal, developer.gov.sg. So up to the documentation level, you are able to access our information. And the last slide, next slide, please, would be to share that how we engage the community besides providing a portal is also some of the meetups that we organize, as well as through Telegram chats. The meetups, you can scan the QR code on the left side. It will notify you of meetups that we organize. We have about 2 every month. We typically share about GovTech products, our experiences, the ugly details of what we've learned and all that. And we also invite private sector participants to share with us as well. So if you do want to keep in touch with us or join us and find out more, do join our Telegram chat. The QR code is on the right side. Yep. And the last slide is if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at this email. Thank you, Kaping. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Yeah, thank you for introducing the Singapore's good practices and also strategy. Yeah. So we are a little bit running late. So we have very kind of short time for the Q&A session. So I would like to select 3 questions, so that the 3 presenters, each of us can answer 1 question. Yeah. So I will pick up the first question for Karen. Yeah, since you are just very fresh from your presentation.
Okay.
The question is, what are the major challenges experienced in the process of developing and implementing the digital transformation initiatives, and what are the major lessons learned to be shared with others? Karen.
I think that one of the lessons that we learned was as technology progresses really quickly and we develop some of these technology, I think firstly is to ensure that there are options for those that are excluded, as well as within the government to ensure that there are sufficient capabilities. We upskill our staff, the entire team, so that everyone can keep up with the progress that we are making as well.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. Yeah. So I would like to invite Mikhail to answer 1 question. This question is from the registered participants from Peru. The question is how ICT and digital technologies can improve the transparency and the digital trust of citizens and entrepreneurs in COVID-19 times. Mikhail.
Thank you, Kaping, for the question, which I think is very important. ICT and digital technologies play an important role in enhancing transparency and digital trust of citizens in COVID-19 times, particularly by enabling effective, timely, and inclusive risk of communication. And by harnessing ICT and digital technologies, government can share the latest up-to-date data and information on the status and progress of COVID-19 situation. For example, the number of confirmed cases with other citizens in a timely manner. And government can also establish communication channels by leveraging digital technologies for effective and timely risk communication with the public, such as COVID-19 dashboards, mobile messaging alerts, SNS updates, and etc., which is critical for building the trust of citizens. And through harnessing digital technologies, government can not only share information with the citizens, but also listen to their voices, opinions, including on special vulnerabilities and demands during this pandemic situation, and more importantly, engage them, including engaging various stakeholders, including the private sector, experts, academia, and so forth, and foster their participation in the COVID-19 response policy development and implementation processes. And this would make an emergency response process more open, more transparent, and accountable. Before I finish, I think it's also at the same time important that government also takes measures to prevent the spread of misinformation, especially on online and SNS platforms. And while effectively harnessing digital technologies, also it's also important the government also communicates also through the traditional or non-digital channels as well for multi-channel communication and service delivery to ensure that those who lack access to digital technologies or skills to leverage digital technologies can still receive relevant emergency information and services during this special time. Yes, that will be my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mikhail. Also, I would like also answer 1 question from Dr. Purity Gitonga. His question is, how would governments address the fear or concern of citizens with regard to 5G, personal data, data privacy, and even AI in view of the government's efforts to improve efficiency and deliver better services? Yeah. Okay. This one is a good question, as also throughout the presentation, we always mention about the data security, privacy, and citizen trust. Yeah. So I think first, the government should have necessary legislation to protect the information of personal information, and also second, the government should allow the citizens to check what type of data they're holding about the people and businesses, so that if the government hold the wrong data, the citizen could have a chance to correct those data. Thirdly, as I said, that the government should institute a kind of a robust data governance framework. So from very beginning, from the data collection and to data storage and data access, and also the data dissemination. Also, for example, the data collection stage, I mean, we should clear who have the authority to collect those kind of data, and also try to avoid duplicating collection by different government ministries. Yeah. And also about the data access, as I mentioned to you about the case of Korea, only those kind of authorized government officers, they can access the personal data. And also for the data process, we normally said that we should de-identification of the personal data, but we should also avoid the risk of a re-identification, the so-called mosaic effect, to avoid the personal data could be discerned or identified by the other people. So the government should institute a data governance framework across the government sector, and also set up a good communication collaboration with the citizens, and also including those kind of independent experts to ensure that all this kind of new digital product and services could be get the support from the citizens. Yeah. So I hope that in our next session in 2 weeks, we will also further elaborate on this kind of data governance issue. We hope that by that time, we can better address your question. Okay. Okay, due to the time limitation, and also we are also due to the complexity of the issue, we are running a little bit lag behind. So I would like to conclude this session at this time. So for more information about this kind of session, you can go to our website at www.unpoc.org. And also in our website, all our materials presentation will be posted in our website. Also, at the very beginning, I also mentioned that since last year, we also organized a series of events on digital government transformation. Now, all those kind of information about these events also available in our websites. Yeah. And also, if you would like to continue the discussion on this important topic, you can also go log on to our online discussion board to post your question. We can have a more interactive discussions. Yeah. Last, but very important is that we solicit your support and to fill out the post-evaluation survey, so that we can know how to better improve our session series in the future. Okay. Okay, so I thank you all for attending this kind of session. I also thank Karen for present the Singapore case. Yeah, I thank you all. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.